Nintendo Switch rumors set the internet ablaze only a few weeks ago when Bloomberg and Eurogamer published articles leaking the Switch Pro's existence. And to be fair to them, those articles were basically correct, outside one minor detail. If you do enjoy the video, be sure to subscribe to see more and hit the like button. With that said, let's get into it. Today, out of nowhere, we got a trailer dropped on YouTube by Nintendo announcing the Switch Pro OLED model. Not the name I would have gone with. I had seen everything from Switch Pro to Super Nintendo Switch to Switch Plus suggested as the name for the new model. The article said that Nintendo would announce the new model before E3, but that did not happen, and then E3 rolled by without any news also. We then saw Nintendo's investor meeting where Nintendo dodged Switch Pro questions, and we now know why. So what is the Nintendo Switch OLED? Well, like I said, we are getting almost everything rumored, and let's go over the good news first. The screen is 7 inches at 720p and now OLED, which from what I hear many people prefer to LCD, and the main feature is that OLED screens have deeper blacks. I know the original PlayStation Vita model had an OLED screen before it switched to LCD, and tons of people swear by that OLED screen over the original model despite the newer one having better features. Nintendo also added in a much better kickstand, so the Switch will actually be able to support itself standing up in tabletop play. I think this was desperately needed. I've never once been able to get my Switch's kickstand to prop up my Switch without having to buy a third-party kickstand. The OLED model also features improved audio in handheld mode and 64GB of internal storage up from 32GB. Lastly, Nintendo added in an Ethernet port, something that has been standard for consoles since 2005, if not even a little bit earlier with some other consoles. The console will go for $350 and release on October 8th alongside Metroid Dread. So here's the bad news. What I just listed is it. There's going to be no improved visuals or frame rate, as it seems like the internals will be nearly identical. Also, in maybe even worse news, there will be no update to the JoyCons. It's clear they did not announce this new model before E3 because all eyes were on them and they knew how disappointed people were going to be. They waited till the heat died down and after the investor questioning to announce it, so by the time they would have to answer to anyone about it, the heat would die down again. And the reason the Switch Pro rumors spread like wildfire is that people really want to be able to play their Switch games at a consistent frame rate and at least 1080p visuals. We'll talk about the lack of increased performance, but I do want to say not updating the Joy-Cons is getting a bit disturbing at this point. While I personally have not had any issues with my Joy-Cons, there have been so many people that have had issues with theirs that it's impossible to say that there is no issue. Clearly something in the Joy-Cons design is flawed and Nintendo needs to fix it. It's really expensive to buy new ones, and if you only have one pair and send them out to be fixed, your Switch is basically unusable unless you have an also expensive Pro controller. To be fair, I actually do think the Pro controller is good quality, as I do like mine, but it's still more expensive than it should be. They are still ignoring the issue, and it seems like they might not care that they are selling a product with a very high defective rate, and that's a shame. Okay, enough ranting on Joy-Cons, let's talk about the lack of increased visuals. For me personally, it's a massive disappointment and adds in a lot more questions for the Switch going forward because its current performance is an issue. We're seeing some massive performance issues in some games like Age of Calamity where it's clear the Switch's hardware can't keep up. Even looking back further to Breath of the Wild, yes, it looks great, but the performance is horrible at times. Especially at night, if a few monsters spawn, the game turns into a slideshow. Yes, it's still technically playable, but it definitely hurts enjoyment. I worry about Breath of the Wild sequel because if they try and push visuals any further than we saw in the original game, then we will see even more performance issues. I don't know, I guess Nintendo is banking on people not knowing or being able to tell when frame rates drop in the low teens? This also hurts the entire gaming industry because games that want to release on all systems day and date have to appeal to the lowest common denominator, which will severely limit what developers can do. We are seeing this with the upcoming Samurai Warriors 5, a game I am really looking forward to, but it's clear the visuals have been downgraded so it will run on the Switch. To be fair, even if there was a Switch Pro, they would want the game to work on the base Switch, so it wouldn't really change anything. So going forward, what does this all mean? I honestly have no clue, and neither does anyone outside of Nintendo's boardroom and console R&D department. It's clear the Switch needs an upgrade, but we might never see one. Just think about it, if they release this new OLED model and people upgrade to it only to have a Switch Pro release next year with Breath of the Wild sequel, that would really piss people off. My best guess is that they didn't want to split the user base having Switch Pro exclusive games, and I do understand that as no one wants to be left behind. So it seems like going forward we might see more cloud games like Guardians of the Galaxy, which should work better with the Ethernet port. They said 1 year ago that the Switch is halfway through its life cycle, which means the Switch will be around for at least 2 more years, if not 3. If it's 2 more years, I don't see a Switch Pro happening now. Releasing a Pro model when the console only has 1 year left won't make sense, or even 2 more years. At this point, they should just release a Switch 2 years from now. By then, Sony and Microsoft should finally have switched over to exclusively making next-gen games, so that would make it perfect timing for Nintendo to release their next console. I just hope they do a straight-up Switch 2. I do not want to see any new gimmicks, I just want to be able to play Nintendo games at higher frame rates and resolutions. Anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. It doesn't seem like a bad option for people who do not have a Switch already, but I don't see much reason to upgrade your current Switch to the OLED model. My Scarlet Nexus Platinum review should be out in a few days, so be on the lookout for that. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, I'll see you all in the next video.